Welcome back from the break, everybody. We are getting into our second matchup of the day, and now we've swapped out cookies, and we've got Tanner in as usual. Happy to have you for stage number 3 with us. Let's talk about Luminosity Gaming. This team, as every other team except for One Shot, has made roster changes.
I mean, they made some pretty major roster changes, I would say. I think in the fact that they're losing Asian, who ended up going to Parabellum. They lost Ferda, who is currently going to Beast Coast. So there might be some visa issues there. Those are two massive players who they just lost. And I'll talk about them a little bit more in my critical points, as those are some pretty big holes that the LG roster will have to fill. That being said, I do like who they picked up. They picked up Splash again, who played with this roster in stage 1 under the name of ATK or Wichita Wolves, and he had a pretty decent showing. And they picked up Rice, who had a really, impressive stage 2 performance on the side of Vipers, where he was their hard support. It was one of the things I noted about him was their very solid drone work, and I think this is something that this roster needs.
He also had that weird ability to clutch up rounds in situations that you just did not expect him to do, which is kind of gives him that little wild card edge, I would say. Connor, moving over to Vipers, they as well, this is formerly Rent Free. It's getting really confusing as these teams love to switch their names around. They had some pretty major changes to their roster as well.
Yes, they did. No longer is this the Filthy and Butters show. It's just Filthy. Goodbye to Butters, as well as Dexter. He went to SSG and then went to Mirage, and he was going all across the world. He was in Saudi Arabia, but all we know is he's not here in Challenger League. And instead, we have the return of Creators, which I'm really excited for, as well as the bring over of Poison because his team evaporated. Nocturnes, Owls, they're nocturnal. They aren't awake during the day anymore, so they won't be playing here in Challenger League. But once again, kind of circling back to Creators, the last time we saw him was over in the NAL on the Parabellum roster in stage 1. Sure, he didn't really make the cut onto the next stage with being replaced by Gunner, but Gunner, he had a pretty good stage, and overall with Creators, he still had a good showing, just wasn't quite good enough. Now here, stepping down into Challenger League, I do expect him to dominate.
I like the little the matchup between these two, both losing those star rookies that they had last stage. Everyone was talking about Asian and Dexter, and when they did finally match up,
and they're both gone.
They're gone. Now, the one thing we do have to talk about when we go back to Luminosity Gaming, Tanner, is that their stage 2, although it ended out, pretty good and got them up to the top of the leaderboards, it didn't start off so well. We were a little bit worried about them, but they did manage to right the ship, and I'm hoping that they don't find themselves again in the same hole.
Well, I mean, going on to your point there, I think that just has to go with every team needs to learn how to lose. And they won stage 1. Like, they didn't really lose at all in stage 1. So they went through a little bit of growing pains there. They realized some things weren't working. And then their coaching staff was able to whip them back into shape and make sure that they were performing towards the end of the stage. And they managed to, maintain their position in the top 4 of Challenger League. Now, going into my critical points, it's obviously got to be talking about the roster moves that are coming. One thing I really wanted to point out, and I did when I was talking about the rosters, Rice is a player who has really good drone work. He's a really good back-end player who's going to be able to bring some stability. LG last stage, especially at the beginning of the stage, we noticed they had some consistency issues on their attacking half. I think Rice is going to be one of those players that's going to be able to really bring some fortifications towards making sure that they're more consistent on their attack half. And then the second big question mark that I have for me is, will Splash be able to fill the hole that was left by Asian and Ferda? I mean, these two players combined had over 200 kills last stage in, I think, 11 playdays or 10 actual maps.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. That's a big shoe to fill. And I know they still have Silent, and he's a very nasty player. In fact, he was one of our highest, I think he was the highest rated player last stage. But Splash now has to come in and try and fill the hole that was left by these two players. I think he's more than capable to be a player that can do that, provided he has good internet and isn't disconnecting or playing from the hotel. But that's going to be my big question that I want to look at today is, will he fill those shoes? And I guess we're just going to have to watch the game to kind of figure that out.
Now, same thing goes for Vipers. Will they cash in on the changes they made, or will they be snake bit, Connor?
Maybe. We're going to stay away from all the hissing puns and stuff like that. We're just going to go Papa P, Mr. Poison, the man sending multiple players to the league. He's like now Viper's joining Poison? With Filthy, who has been in the league. So, with the shot calling, the IGLing of this team, I think is going to look incredibly good. And there's just a lot of experience across this roster. You're still even bringing in Creators who has been playing for so long. And once again, I was saying it earlier, and I'm going to say it again. This is going to be a massive statement move for creators. This is going to be his "Hey, I didn't deserve to be dropped" kind of mentality.
Hmm. Well, that's happening more and more in CL. And you know what, Connor, for your sake, I'll stay away from the puns. I don't want you having a hissy fit on us, okay? So moving into the map bans, forceful. This is going to be an interesting one between these two.
Are you sure you're not a dad yet? Because like you're on point with them. So going into these map bans, obviously there was a big off season in between the two play days, or from the last time we saw them play in play day 10 of stage 2. Therefore, it's going to be a little bit questionable what maps they go. But I do notice that Bank is still up, which is interesting because last time these two teams played, they did in fact play on Bank, and it went the full distance. We went 15 rounds. It ended up being an 8-7 overtime victory for the side of Vipers, who managed to do a comeback victory, went down a few rounds, and were able to pull out the Monty and just absolutely destroyed the Luminosity defenses. So what we're seeing here is kind of like a grudge match. Like, this is going to be, the tail of the tape of which team actually did better in the offseason. I think both teams did make some pretty interesting roster changes. So that's what this is all going to come down to. And which team was able to learn from their mistakes and apply more of those lessons in the offseason. I'm actually really excited for Bank.
So throwing out the predictions, Connor, do we think that going to Bank is almost like a safe play for both teams? They figure, hey, we've done it before. We both had some changes. Let's just kind of keep as much similar as we can.
It makes this prediction that looks everybody's going, hey, this is going to be Vipers. Oh my gosh. It makes it seem really off because this is going to be an incredibly close game, especially sure Luminosity, they won last time on this very map, but you could say they maybe took a slight tiny step back in their roster because they had to make 2 roster moves that were forced because of players graduating to the next level. Meanwhile, for Vipers, they only had to do that for 1 single player, and then they got to make a sort of a chosen roster move, one that they could opt into to really bring their team up to the next level. It's going to be hard, but overall, I have to say that I like the look of this Vipers team. And Papa P, Mr. Poison, he was the only player, him on Nocturnes, IGLing the way to the only defeat on Bank that Rent Free did see last stage, but now he's on the other team.
Well, either way, it's going to be close. This is one of those ones I was hovering back and forth between the two. I couldn't make a decision. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it is Luminosity Gaming. But here we go, folks. We're going to get the rematch between Luminosity Gaming and Vipers on Bank.
What's up, everyone? Like Jim said, we get a long-awaited rematch. Fun fact, John, LG banned this map week 1 against One Shot because, of course, they would. One Shot is a very good Bank team. They lost. Then second week, they lost Bank to Rent Free, who are now Vipers, 8-7 by 1 round, and then proceeded to ban it 5 times after that.
Yeah.
So, not a map they play a lot.
Didn't really leave an enjoyable flavor in their mouth, I'd say, since they had like a 6-2, 6-1 lead, I think, at one point, and then we had Rent Free, now known as Vipers, bring out the Monty, and Luminosity just did not know what to do against that. And I think Tanner made a great point. Whatever team has had the better off-season preparation, I think that should be the clear decider of who's going to win today on Bank. And I am a little shocked that I'm the only person who voted for Luminosity. Although I think, yes, it's a lot of major shoes to fill, no longer having Ferda and Asian on Luminosity. Also for Vipers, no longer having Dexter as well. I feel like it's the exact same talking point. So you could really look at this reflection either way, and especially with what Vipers is replacing Dexter with, I feel like it's more brains over brawn now instead. Although everyone on Vipers can still shoot, I feel like, again, not having that exponential frag capabilities, whereas everyone on Luminosity can also frag really well, that could definitely lead into some small issues as well. But also, it could maybe counterintuitive because I did just say Vipers can also all shoot pretty darn well. But to the extent that Dexter could, maybe not so much. I feel like Luminosity might have a slight edge on that.
I'm also not going to leave you alone in that sentiment. I initially did that prediction and voted Vipers, but I'm actually going to switch. The fact that LG, after looking at the bans, have banned this map 6 times and only played it once, and are like, you know what? Yeah, the team we just lost to last stage, who now have Poison, we're going to bring them back. I think LG's got something up their sleeve. That and Rice is the GOAT. I cannot leave Jason Rice hanging. So I'm going to Let the record show Preston Tango Mango down last name. I've switched my vote to LG. And we are immediately... I hate LG so much.
I say, I don't think they like you very much.
God damn it. I'm not switching my vote, though. It's still going to be LG.
You know, it's really sad, but I'm glad I can call you a traitor again. Anyways.
Yeah, we need a rehost, I guess.
Yeah. Waiting for it to be finalized, making sure that, you know, they have the green light to go for a rehost this early, and then it will most likely be done. Probably just a sort of bug. Oh, just kidding. False alarm, potentially. It's all right. It happens. So we're still here, and never mind. Okay, they are still missing down a play. Well, all right, also, they must be that confident.
I really like the Monty van, too. LG knowing that, you know what, they would have had that map if they just figured out the Monty, but now they don't have to. They don't have to figure it out. Also, Bank, big map, lots of runouts, lots of flanking opportunity. They'll bring both Zero and 2 different sets of Claymores.
Making sure that everything is accounted for here. Seems like Maxley is
Did you see what Eddie was playing?
No, I did not.
I don't know if he had I'm wondering if he was like Iana, like another set of nades. There's another good point to bring up, right? Only 3 operators have nades now. Iana, Sledge, and Nook. And by banning Nook, by banning Nook, you take probably the best set of nades off this map.
Yeah, especially since, again, that high roaming power, you can play a lot of mean cutoffs, no info for the Nook, and then that late round presence can always be so taxing as well, especially if you don't have a good start on that defensive side. So, yeah, Nook is a solid ban on a map like Bank especially. Seems like that roam game has finally fallen back, but they wasted a fair amount of time and didn't lose any blood, so that's perfectly fine by them, especially since they technically had the man advantage with that disconnection in the prep phase. There is one player, though, currently lurking around near Tellers. Rice off screen is able to catch one on Twist. So things have been evened up, but again, the time has been pretty good so far by Vipers Esports. They've wasted a lot of seconds off the board, and LG still have a fair amount of the map to clear out despite having that top control.
Now, luckily, because of said extended roam, there aren't a lot of hatches to open. Most of them are already opened to facilitate rotates for these roamers, so that will save Luminosity a lot of time. Filthy is getting aggressive on this staircase, shotgun in hand, which, by the way, I think shotguns were shadow buffed in this in the new season, because holy crap, do they hit hard. Like, you can literally one pump people across the room with that M590. So I imagine there's gonna be a lot more people trusting their shotgun at longer ranges. In the meantime, the default wall on site has been opened. Eddie has returned, so we're not going to need a rehost. In comes the peak on the stairs, trying to battle Filthy, and there's that shotgun. Kix does not stand a chance.
Now Splash has to take his place. Mute is low, so Filthy could maybe fall. Nade to push him back just a little bit, but he can still play at the bottom of Marble. Silent does find at least one off kill as well. It's a 3 versus 3, but the time is so low here for Luminosity, and still one smoke grenade left in the pocket of Poison. That could really put a lot of hurt on the side of Luminosity, especially if it's time well. There it is, Rice trying to stick it, but has to force himself a little bit closer towards that bomb chassis, sticking on that defuse, but his leg gets spotted by Poison. Plant denied, and there's just simply no time left for Luminosity to bring back that round. Vipers, just playing with the time management, they're able to take their first round with relative ease.
Not only the lack of time, the push down main stairs, losing that man advantage. Very curious from Kix. Don't know why he did that with literally no info. There are plenty of better ways to go about that. For example, pushing main stairs, you know, maybe while the plant attempt was going down, while the smoke is throwing out his toxic gas canister, trying to distract him from Red Hatch, maybe drop Red Hatch, catch him in the act. Because there was so many hatches open, you still have hard breach charges. You can open up some of those lockers hatches to spread the defensive man count even thinner. There were so many options for Luminosity in that round, and instead they just decided to peek main stairs, and they decided not to adapt to what little time they had left.
Not having anyone going down garage either, probably more or less due to the fact that you don't have a heavy lurk player such as the Zofia. That could be one major thing. If there's some sort of camera there, that could be a really easy thing to beat. And also, it's a 3-on-3. You don't have a lot of players to facilitate something as much as a garage play that can sometimes be a very heavy gamble, especially with that lack of nerve, like I've mentioned. Open area now in play here for Vipers Esports. They did a pretty good job of, again, wasting time on this top floor, but also not losing any bodies. A little interested to see if Luminosity might try to be a little more aggressive on that top floor to try to work some sort of cutoff angle early on to guarantee some sort of kill. But besides that, if Vipers just keep up what they were able to put down in the early round, they should be fine, theoretically speaking, here when they begin to transition their way lower.
Another interesting little tidbit about LG's attacking lineup, no nades. For an open area attack, 0 nades. Instead, you've got 2 different sets of hard breach charges, 4 claymores. By the way, Ash is back. Ash's R4C is usable again. The M762 is usable again now that the LMGs have been nerfed. Thank God for that. So this game's probably going to be a lot more fun. And when you take a look at the lineup and the amount of utility that Vipers has, I mean, sure, you know, Azami Gates, you got the shield from Maxily, the bulletproof cam from Filthy, Evil Eyes from Meister, blah, blah, blah. Not only do Ash and Zofia have their utility, but remember, Zero has a Gone 6, and Buck has been given a Gone 6 with this new patch. So even though there's no nades, Luminosity are still covering their bases. And that is a great spot from Eddie.
I mean, simply everything accounted for by Luminosity, having someone all the way down looking through the elevator or the Kanto position with that back wall opened up, someone stock. It really was only a matter of time for someone entered the building to start really going in for those gunfights, as Vipers had no fallback option, but they still win a couple on their retreat somehow. A 4 versus 3 now, quickly traded back though as Eddie finds his second. But still, not the worst case scenario here for Vipers, as things could have gone completely opposite of this 3-on-3. Could have maybe seen a 5-on-3 or even worse favoring Luminosity. So they really have to be counting their lucky stars. And there's only a minute left on the round still for LG to tie things back down a floor lower.
I know Poison was able to push up towards those main stairs and get a kill. Not quite sure where Twist got his, but like you said, he was refragged. Drones are now starting to go out as the hatch opens. Corner hatch in open area. That could facilitate a drop and a plant. That is typically where people like to go. Poison will probably be the main man to stop said drop. They've got pings through the wall. Filthy just kind of stands still and takes those bullets through the wall, nearly dying. More destruction happening above him, just left on 1 HP. The Buck is on the hunt. Filthy's going to try and hide in an electrical closet, but they've still got pings. The info game from LG is tremendous, but it looks like they only know what room he's in. They don't know exactly where he is. So Silent is yet to find this kill. Just spraying around. All he's got to do is aim at the floor, but he just keeps on missing. Finally, able to spot Filthy, but Poison trades it out. He get another one. Brilliant headshot onto Rice. Poison is insane. 3 kills. Maxily cleans up, and Vipers steal another round.
Once again, an entry kill for the side of Luminosity, yet they just cannot converse, I suppose. They just cannot conform fully after that immediate early round. Vipers still being able to play for those refrags and still have a load of utility to actually stack up on the bomb side, having those Evil Eyes, having that Alda as well, on top of having some smoke grenades too. It's just a living nightmare for Luminosity to try to funnel in from pretty much just a handful of directions, and that was mostly it. But hey, CEO can be a rather difficult site to properly defend against. That could be a big sigh of relief here for Luminosity. They might get a small chance to at least get something on the board here in this first half. But Vipers, despite losing that first opening kill, it seems like they always have a backup plan, and they are more than willing to up the ante on that momentum that Luminosity have been showing in those first moments or so, and then continuing to actually bring that all the way down to the end game just to have an even stronger setup when Luminosity have to make that eventual move to try to hop into the site for that execute.
If LG are able to properly transition to that execute phase, properly capitalize upon their entry game. We've got 5 kills in 2 rounds, 2 of which are those entry picks from Rice and Eddie, respectively. Like the echo cam spots from Filthy, trying to hide it in main lobby. It's for some reason not sticking to the ceiling, and that means he'll lose it. Wow. That's gotta suck as an echo main.
Not a big fan of that always, so gonna lose out on that Yokai pretty early on, and with the
nice
long
spot on
range
the
of those
jammer.
Argus cams, yeah, gets rid of the jammer on Kanto. They can open up that wall once again, have a nice cutoff, and probably force this elevator player just to just sit here to die, essentially, as a lot of teams nowadays will have that cutoff on watch as well for the hatch drop. So really, Filthy will just be playing here to maybe work some sort of kill before he goes, or maybe even having the option to just burn through a lot of utility. But hey, those Kiba barriers actually could maybe help Filthy fall back if need be, but still, having that crossfire established from both elevator and front desk is still very powerful. So really, it wouldn't be the worst thing for Filthy to still just sit near elevator, but at least doesn't have to worry about that long cutoff on the Kanto wall.
Yeah, I like the Azami assist that Vipers have planned with creators there. Don't really know why Silent just used one of his impacts on a normal barricade, but it's used. Filthy repositioning his echoes as a nade goes out. Won't find any kills, maybe found utility. The Echo needs to be the next target as Silent actually gets a leadoff kill onto Poison, the savior of last round. And really, we might even be able to say the savior of that initial round too, forcing Rice to plant in an off spot and being able to deny it with his gun. So Poison off the board. That's a C4 dead as well. With a minute left, Luminosity are looking good. The Echo now 1 HP as well, finished off by Eddie. Everything's coming up attack.
Not too much left here for Vipers to hold on for dear life as that push up through Gold Stairs is still looking quite strong. Creator's a good shot onto Rice. That's your player all the way in the back of the map now eliminated, but he's not going to be all too effective during the execute unless he's on some sort of nasty flank watch across the map. That more or less doesn't happen most of the time. Still 40 seconds to work with here. Luminosity at least should be able to lock this one in the bag, and they're still taking their time to gather info to fully guarantee that they know what they're getting themselves into when they eventually hop into the bomb site to try to stick that defuse potentially.
Unfortunate for Creators getting caught by really his own gunner hole, I think, in the bottom of that barricade. That leaves Twist alone in Janitor. They'll spot one player, but can't pull the trigger fast enough. Silent, 3 kills on the round. And Luminosity take their first point on this top floor attack after a brilliant clear through lobby.
Yeah, they kept things very basic. They had the fallback established by the 0 of kicks just playing underneath, even having that hatch opened up by, I believe, a Gone 6 to actually get an angle on the Echo to guarantee he's going to die there, and not really trying to facilitate anything but that gold push besides the Zofia of Silent, I believe it was, just playing on the window repels. Again, just if someone overextends, peeks into their line of sight, that could be a free kill. That builds momentum and extra map control as a whole for Luminosity. So, able to get their rounds where they can, a much better line of light on their side. But now they have to go up against the bottom, the basement floor, once again, of CCTV and lockers, and they struggled a lot, not with getting the entry kills. They've still been very solid in that department, but just spending a multitude of time up above on this top floor dealing with that extensive roam game. If they're able to pick up the pace in that department, they could most definitely have a much more fluid round when it comes to that overall execute, because of the fact they had such little time left. Those smoke grenades, those nitro cells really became a major issue for them when they tried getting that defuse down. So again, if they're able to pick up the pace to a full multitude, this could be a completely different round for them. But Vipers Esports, they probably know better about that.
Ready to see how Luminosity works with a full 5 on this site. Wow, it's certainly going to be a different attack. Only the Ace and the Zofia are constant. They now have the Nomad from Kicks rather than the 0. I guess weren't too happy with the Argus cams in those previous couple rounds. The Argus did a great job of getting that view jammer, but otherwise, I don't think has been too effective in flank watch specifically. They'll bring the Nomad. You got Eddie on Osa to try and take Garage with Silent supporting as Callie. I mean, Garage is a very long room with lots of long angles, so I guess you could have the Callie play it. In fact, Garage is kind of free. Eddie running over, setting up the Osa shield, and I guess this is where Silent's going to sit the whole round.
Especially having that lance as well.
Can he see red? Can he see where, like, smoke spot?
He's got a nasty angle on this, but across the map, it doesn't seem to matter. All right. Oh, they all dropped down the vault entrance hatch and Poison killed them. Or the vault hatch, not even vault entrance anymore. All right. Always forget that. And now it's only Silent. He had a cool angle, but doesn't help when the rest of your team is across the map. Actually gets the last mercy kill. A lot of carnage in Vault, Harrison. I think that's the best way to put it.
Oh, he just lost.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, wow. Well, I guess the rest of Luminosity can join them soon, since Vipers are doing incredible on the first half.
I was so distracted by the cheeky little Osa Callie setup in Garage that I didn't realize that the rest of that plan was drop 3 people through Vault.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Didn't
What
seem
the hell
like the
was
right
that?
idea. Yeah. especially not having anyone, back up from Marble, for example. It seemed like a full-fledged gamble there by Luminosity, and it did not pay off. These Vipers were somewhat expecting it, and Poison was just in the better spot to win those gunfights. Always so strong with that shotgun in hand, especially now with the slight changes that you mentioned. You can take a couple more mid-range engagements and be a little more confident in swinging those as well.
I just don't get, why was the plan not to set up Garage with that Osa and Kali, hold down the Red Hall, prevent the smoke or C4, and then do your default take? I thought that's what that was for. Why are you setting up Garage and then dropping Vault? Like, what?
I guess they wanted to go more direct, and they maybe assumed that they'd have to worry about flanks if they wanted to go for a default take, so they just figured, just...
we gotta stop them from rotating through red from server.
I don't know, man. Only Luminosity knows. Maybe we'll have to ask them after the game is done.
Maybe if they win. That'd be a great interview question. Jim, write that down.
Only hope, right? I
guess
only hope.
if
I'm the team that voted for them.
If Rent Free win, you could be like, hey, what do you guys think LG were thinking this round?
Yeah. I don't know, just to win their gunfights, I suppose.
Not
too sure if that not too sure the Twitch run actually
did
broke
the bulletproof
that.
did the bulletproof EMP the Twitch run? No, it got it.
Oh, they traded. Nice. Don't see that every day. But I guess eventually the Twitch run's gonna come back up, yeah. So
wow, how long do you think Silent is gonna sit here for?
In like 30-40 more seconds.
I mean, you could find a kill.
Maybe a minute.
If Filthy rotates in, they're hunting him down. Ernie Gate will be dealt with. Creators is all the way on the top floor, as this is obviously a roam. This is a middle floor site. In open area. You gotta have that top floor presence. Luminosity's game plan, again, is a little bit odd. I don't have... Other than Silent, have they even really entered the building?
Well, now Eddie's in.
Like, Eddie and Splash are just now getting in. Silent is in Archives. Did they lose? I think they lost Filthy.
Not too sure they have info on... Yeah, not too sure if they have actually info on Filthy, speak of which. Was able to get the opening kill into Kicks as well. Things really not looking well for LG. They spent so much trying to set up this perfect storm, and it's just backfired now, it seems. It'll be a really desperate attempt to try to bring this one back. Twist off screen finds another one as Eddie gets dropped. And yeah, there's just little to no map control. Yeah, Bryce has to just go for something courageous here by himself, essentially on an island, quite literally now. And he's just getting zapped. Full info on this guy. He finds one on a poison, but again, everything is accounted for here by Vipers. And they have just a blowout round once again. I believe that's, what, their fourth one now? LG's only claimed a single win so far?
You are correct. It's 4-1.
And a timeout.
So they're going to take a timeout because, of course, they're going to do that. That looked like a ranked round. What the hell was going on? You had Silent watching for a rotation down in the basement. Kicks and Eddie were clearing from lobby, trying to hunt down Filthy, who they lost. You have... who was that? Kicks and Rice coming from, like, the square side? With Kicks dying first to Twist? And then Silent somehow rotates up to Archives without seeing Filthy, or without Filthy even getting in on the action. Filthy just hides. That round made very little sense. There was a lot going on from Luminosity, and nothing really being, like... how would I put this? There was a lot going on, but nothing being done.
Nothing really of value for Luminosity. Seems like they're just trying to avoid the major obstacles that you see on a map like Bank, and because they're avoiding these major things, like especially like the heavy roam you almost always see, flanks and different positions can be held by Vipers, easier crossfires, the list goes on. And CEO now back for Vipers Esports. This has been the only site that they've lost, and I mean, they're probably going to expect the exact same attacking prowess by LG. I wouldn't be too shocked if they want to just go for another, gold stairs take in through lobby/ATM. So maybe they'll put more stock into that part of the map, that being Vipers, of course. So theoretically, this could be another 5-1 split we see already in stage 3. That is really shocking to see, especially for a team like Luminosity as well. Again, they were a top team last stage. They were the top team before that. And now they just seem to be a shell of themselves. But hey, it's the beginning of the season. They still have time to improve. So I'm not going to say everything too early.
I'm just so confused right now. And even until the last round, I wasn't even like casting. I was just trying to.
We were just having a conversation.
I was just verbally trying to figure out what was going on. So you know how like when people talk to themselves or like read to themselves and they're confused? That's what I was doing.
We were trying to be the reason of that round, like just kind of going back and
like
forth every 5 seconds. Yeah, and it just didn't. Yeah, it didn't really seem like much was going on there. Yeah.
Let's see if there's it's a little more solid this round. It is back to CEO. Luminosity did have a really good, like this wasn't just they won this round. They had a really good attack, which is part of what makes the 2 previous rounds so surprising, because they came off such a fundamentally solid attack in that 3rd round, and then to go to Kaliosa Garage and everyone drop Vault, and then whatever happened last round, it's just like such a weird, such a jarring juxtaposition.
And they now opting to go on the light lurk here potentially.
I got the sledge lurk.
Yeah, well, Nook is banned, so hey, you've got the nades.
That's true.
Yeah, that's,
L85 is basically the FMG9.
Both 1.5 optics.
Both with the SAS.
Yep. Both, what?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the FMG. Yeah, never mind.
I didn't mean that. Nook was the SAS.
Yeah, I
understand.
misinterpreted. It's all right. Saving all the brain energy for the later half of the day.
Filthy got the hell out of Elevator. So that's a change Luminosity are going to have to deal with. You won't get that freebie anymore, especially if they have that hatch open. Kicks has been, like, in the initial line of fire as 0 a couple times now. Not necessarily in an opening engagement, but in, like, a we need to get this position, and he'll be the one to walk in. Now, despite Filthy no longer being an Elevator, that doesn't stop him from being our first casualty, as Eddie just nades him into oblivion. So you've lost your Echo really early. What do you do now as Vipers?
I mean, it's something you are bound to expect. Someone might try to maybe take that position somewhat to reclaim a bit of map control and, again, hold those crossfires, as once again, Vipers, they've already seen this exact same attack, and that's exactly what happens here, at least with Maxley. Eddie across the ways gets rid of Creators. Still a major advantage here for LG, but there's still a lot of strong positions that Vipers can currently hold against the attack, but Eddie closing the gap on a twist, a beautiful nade to create space. Only one player left. This could be the 5-man kill streak for Eddie if he just finds Poison, but there's such little time to do so. 10 seconds left, but really it's just one player left alive. Surely Poison does not win this as he creeps his way back into sight. Hydrocell tossed out. The diffuser has gone down. The spray down on the 0, but Eddie is immediately there with the trade. An ace for the sledge, but still a 4-2 half for Vipers.
So Eddie, a brilliant ace. First, the nade onto Filthy, the follow-up kill. The nade on the twist in the hallway that we just saw in that replay, that was sick.
Forced him off the shield.
That was freaking big brain. When I saw Poison crawl behind the couch and rip that C4, I thought the round was over. But I didn't realize the diffuser was already, like, basically completed. If Poison just does that a little bit earlier, I think that C4 lands and he might win the round. That was a little crazy. But Eddie comes in, confirms the ace. Huge stuff from Eddie. Vipers just did not stand a chance. So Luminosity, after this map, clearly they just need to go back and revise their attacks on every other site. They can be confident that they got CEO down.
Area now on the drawing board here for Luminosity. Seem to be going for roughly the same kind of defensive hold that Vipers were going for, having that big emphasis up above, but also having better utility for the lower floor as well, having some castle barricades put around here and there, not only for the top floor, but also to deny some specific angles to the offense, unless Creators just puts himself near those barricades and can just destroy them to negate castle barricades effects. That is a really cool Kiba barrier placement to make sure no one can play on that ATM repel to get any cheeky angles on someone playing near front desk or the top floor as a whole. So that's going to force Vipers a little bit further into the building. That can allow Eddie to prolong up above and waste even more time and resources, especially since he has Splash here with him. That's a really cool setup. I'm glad we caught that.
By the way, something else that we haven't talked about yet. Splash a fundamental driving force back when he was with LG in the few games he played with Nocturnes. 0 kills. 0 assists as well. An uncharacteristically slow game for him. Hopefully on the defense, he'll be able to run it up on that Oryx. First in the line of fire is this is the Osa. C4 goes out, but no! I think it got caught on the door frame. Unfortunate misthrow from Rice. That could have been I think that was going to be a kill, maybe even 2, the way he threw that, but just slightly off the mark.
Yeah, the almost underhand toss there might have been a little too difficult to shoot out. Really unfortunate. He just missed the mark by a thread. Still having a strong roam presence, and the fallback potential is there for Luminosity as well. Splash, a great long angle. Tries to challenge the Osa, but swiftly falls back, having the safety of that castle barricade as well, so no one can play in their lobby. It's an even 4-on-4. A minute 20 left here for Vipers Esports, and now once again they have to try to convert their way down a floor lower, and thankfully with Creator still being alive, he can play for vertical, and they still have a couple of grenades to work with as well to break some extra utility on that middle floor and maybe find a kill in the process too.
Speaking of finding a kill, Splash with his first kicks with a follow-up before Splash goes down, so I guess every time I talk about him he's just gonna do the opposite. So we end up in a 3 versus 3. You've lost Oryx and Azami for Iana in 0. Pretty good trade if you're the defense. This is an open area site, so you don't necessarily need, of course, any hard breach. So you lose some with the 0, but you still got the backup with the buck. He's got 1 in his pocket. Maybe he can use it on, like, the triple. I imagine he's probably already used it on the hatch. Actually, no, he's using it on the hatch. Right about... Never mind. Oh, I guess he already used it? Osa is in. Maxley gets a kill before he's traded out by Kix. Kix is still trying to fight this Osa, but she's stuck in a crossfire. Doesn't see Silent in the side hallway by the window. That is Creators alone. He was, I guess, on Overwatch duty? And he's just gonna crawl in and die.
Well, a good start for LG on their second half, winning that opening kill and just keeping things consistent on the trades. But yeah, what was left for Vipers Esports in terms of trying to hit the bomb site? They were definitely very short on options because of those castle barricades and a lack of any utility to destroy them. That did force Viper's hand to just go for the hatch drop play near that plant position, have someone near the beepers as well, maybe having someone go on a lurk around near archives potentially as well. So not too many options left for Vipers during that 3 versus 3, and because Luminosity were aware that there would be pretty much no presence near square, that could allow the Maestro to be a little more aggressive, be more proactive in that round, to help out the player who was directly inside of open area as well, to make sure there was no chance a defuse could go down for Vipers. Still though, 1-round advantage for the offense, and I mean, if they just keep things clean, this should overall look to be a decent half for them as well. But now they've got to go up against this basement floor side of CCTV, and again, Vipers, I wouldn't say they had a rather slow clear up above, but they just lost some very important players. If that could proceed going into this attack on round number 8, I mean, that could just lead to more time waste because there's way more of the map you're going to have to clear out, because now not only did you deal with the top floor, but also the middle floor as well, as you can still roam in those positions like kitchen, like also open area for a pretty good chunk of time, especially those hatches that opened up for a fallback.
I'm really interested by the commitment to 0 by both teams. We saw Luminosity run it almost every single attack. It seems like Vipers might follow. Who knows? Philly's going to be rocking it. As you mentioned, that Jackal is on the board. Twist a suppressed G36, interestingly enough. We'll be able to spot out the first Goyo canister, deal with it on his own terms. Also, another change. The Vector has a 1.5 now. It's pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. And he'll pop like another Goyo canister, covers retreat on the stairs. Rice will fall off as well, and I guess Luminosity satisfied with a minute wasted on the top floor.
And again, you have the first floor to actually play with as a whole nother roam facet, so a lot can still be wasted here. Thankfully, with Creators, though, on the sledge, you can open up a couple of angles here and there to force back some players in your tellers and archives, for example. Splash will just preemptively do so. Having a drone locate him, he's expecting a heavy presence in your lobby, so he doesn't want to just throw his life away and would rather play those more, those stronger positions in the basement floor when the execute eventually dies down. And with Vipers not having a full idea as if this fallback has been confirmed or not, they're going to have to waste a little bit more time making those vertical angles and then still moving down another floor to then set up for the execute. So honestly, a pretty good call by LG to make that fallback and just force Vipers to waste their own time and resources.
Speaking of wasted time, it's been 2 minutes off the clock. A lot of those important hatches still closed, and they're going to start opening it with those hard breach charges, those giant can openers. That soft hatch and server likely to go down pretty soon as well, but again, the time is ticking. 40 seconds left for Vipers to get a move on. Now opening up that back hatch. There's still 2 C4s for Luminosity, 3 gas canisters as well. Silent positioning himself in vault, strangely enough. LG are peeled back just a bit, maybe waiting for the C4s to come out first to deny those plants, and once the C4s are expended, then it's gas time. Speaking of C4, Eddie's the first one to throw his out, and it will net a kill onto Poison. So initial planter now dead. Creator's gonna be up next. Is there another C4 to answer? Twist takes out one. Kicks will refrag, but the C4 is not there. Rice was dead. Eddie kills the planter. Now Maxley and Filthy are left in a 2 versus 4. Filthy gets cut down. Maxley is alone. Upstairs on the hatch, the retake attempt successful from Kicks. Trades out his teammate. Eddie gets the counter defuse, and it's a tie game.
And I love the idea as well that Vipers had, forcing creators to plant on the smoke grenade instead in case there were any kind of nitro cells. So that was immediately denied, especially since they didn't have to worry about all too many smoke grenades left during those last couple of seconds. But also allowing the defense to actually have to push up a little bit more into those server angles to allow more damage to be done on the side of Vipers. That was a really solid idea, but because they were just so low on players and because Creators was incredibly low on HP, he had just a sliver of health left. He was basically just playing there only to plant. There was almost no chance he could find a kill. So essentially you're playing a 4 versus 2 retake if you think about it like that. It seemed like for Vipers, they didn't have a lot left to work off of after the plant had actually gone down, and that's what allowed Luminosity to retake so well. Not only having the man advantage, but just having a better plan as a whole to retake that middle floor, play on the hatches, and get that defuse disabled as well. But again, it was a pretty good start overall for Vipers when they were trying to go for that execute, but again, just having to waste through so much of that utility, it definitely did spell a bit of a weaker push as a whole. And again, it wasn't even just a weaker execute and post-plant setup, it was the aftermath of when we saw that defuser actually go down.
Really well done to LG. Seem to have found their groove on the defense, at least for now. Eddie, after that disconnect, now 10 and 4. Rice falling off a little bit. Kicks getting more involved. Not just kind of dying uselessly on 0 like we saw in the attack, so that's good as well. Another change to the attacking lineup. Twist on Dokkaebi, though, strangely enough, not bringing the new EMPs. Instead, doubling up the smokes with Poison.
Once again, trying to potentially rely on those smoke plants to get the defuse down. This time, the Luminosity operator countered that, or opting to counter that pardon with the operator pick of Splash with the Warden. No other major utility to try to actually stop that defuse from going down. Only one set of impact grenades, no nitro cells, of course. So really, it would be just those long angles and potentially the smart glasses to negate any of those smokes with natural coverage there by the side of Vipers. Back wall already getting opened up here by Poison to potentially proc that plant setup, as they already have 2 people on the window repels. So really, if they can just guarantee that no one pushes their way out of Janitor Hall into Square, they should have a pretty decent position to maybe try to get that defuse down.
Yeah, because Silent's got this shield, but he can't really push up off of it thanks to that long coverage on the window that you have from Maxley, who just left to throw a nade, but now he's going back. Poison now is going to drone the site and see if there's any opportunity for him to get the plant down. Of course, the main 2 obstacles being Rice and Splash. Impacts from below, it's going to let Eddie's position be known. That's going to make it a lot more dangerous for Poison to walk in, at least phantom danger, and in he comes, and the opening not found. Rice will land the first kill easily as the planter just rushes headfirst into sight.
Unfortunately, poor timing on that smoke grenade, and also just having to be more vulnerable, not being able to plant closer towards your teammates for that coverage. You are kind of taking a gamble to try to get that defuse down, to try to stop that verticality that Eddie has just established with those impact grenades. The diffuser now stuck inside of sight. Vipers will most likely have to go for frags, and currently, they're not in the best position to do so. LG just have to sit back and wait for Vipers to make that first move while they're still at a disadvantage.
There is someone downstairs hunting for Eddie, but in the meantime, Rice is holding down sight. The castle with a second kill now, Twist dead. Creators trying to find something on the rappel. Silent downstairs, kills Filthy. There's the Hunter, now dead. Splash another on the Creators, as I think he just jumped out the window. And that leaves Maxley alone in a 1 versus 5, staring at the shield, takes a pot shot to the chest. Rice looking for his third, and he'll nab it. Luminosity, a flawless round, and now the lead.
And depending on where Poison was going to try to plant, maybe if he was behind the bomb chassis, the only thing that could properly stop him again would be Eddie playing underneath, going in for a Hail Mary floor bang, essentially, as, again, everything else was accounted for. And even though you can see, through the smoke of those smart glasses, you can't really shoot through a, metal bomb chassis. So that would have been the coverage that Vipers essentially needed when they tried to get in the post plant. But again, the timing of pushing in and forcing yourself to be very weak and in danger to that double door by not waiting for the smoke to fully get set up, it definitely costed Vipers. And also still, I believe maybe having someone holding a rather long angle all the way down through like the ladder end of Banana potentially, although they had people on the window rappel, he just was all the way back potentially. So Vipers Esports, they had a good idea on paper, but again, the execution of it and the aftermath just failed them. But a well-needed timeout, still having a little bit of breathing room here. Maybe they'll have to force overtime, perhaps, if LG can still get a clean round, but at least they're able to call this timeout and definitely think things through, because this second half has been anything but good for Vipers.
Back to open area we go. Luminosity, decent lead off roam, really good anchor game heading into the execute phase. That's kind of been the story so far through the first couple rounds, right? Decent roam from LG, not a lot of action happening. Vipers unable to kind of make that long roam clear worth their while with kills, and end up going into the execute very low on time, and Luminosity hang on. Also, did Vipers not play Valkyrie at all? I completely forgot she was unbanned.
Yeah, I don't think they brought her out at all. I think the only info they really had was maybe some, prox alarms and also the evil eyes that were brought out here and there.
I completely forgot she was unbanned, especially because Cade, remember we were talking about the now that there's impact EMPs, Thatcher's ban rate is probably going to go down a lot. I was thinking the same thing with Cade. Now that there's just more EMPs available, and plus with Thatcher not getting banned a lot anymore, Cade is not going to be as useful. But as Luminosity's still not comfortable with it, still just don't want to have to bring EMPs. But yeah, that leaves Valkyrie up, and I think, correct us if we're wrong, but I think now being played for the first time in round 10 on Bank, which is real weird.
Maybe utilize those cameras to relay a well-timed nitro cell. We saw that being prepared earlier in the main office part of the top floor. Once you hear that window rappel hop in, maybe see some vertical go down, you can figure out when exactly to detonate that C4 if the camera has been destroyed. If not, then, well, you've got info to play off of direct. First minute has now been diminished here. Vipers Esports still trying to enter the building as is, and LG still having the potential to maybe work for some sort of early entry kill and then have the fallback. The exact same Osa play is going to be used, try to force back this Mew, overextending his life, expecting the Osa to be by themselves, but he downs Twist. The entry kill for Rice. There's still backup as someone is playing not too far away from Square. He'll go in for the swing, but Rice at the perfect moment gets the fallback and still won a gunfight with that too. Fantastically done. Splash as well steps up near elevator, finds one, and then he falls back as well. The discipline by LG has been spot on, and now Splash could maybe work for another one if he has info on the player in lobby.
Yeah, getting one pick, falling off, not allowing Vipers to peel away the layers, by their own volition. Creators looking to get the first pick, but no, loses it around the windows to Eddie. He will get traded back as Maxley runs over and does him in, not wanting to expend his Gone 6 to get the finisher. But still a 2 versus 4. Now, luckily, Rice and Splash are very lit up. They're just 1 bullets away from death. The Kicks and Silent have been forces to be reckoned with in this defensive half. Maxley trying to work the floor, see if there's any opportunities for him to get a kill back. He'll spot one, light up Kicks' legs, but that's all he'll get away with. Kicks now able to rotate back into top blue and command bottom square, right where their castle barricade is waiting for Vipers to tear it down. Filthy, in the meantime, has a very long angle into the site, is daring Silent to drop off. The Zero just lets himself be known. Again, takes some damage, but there's no kill. Lots of HP being traded out amongst both these teams. With 20 seconds, we're going to have to start seeing some confirmed kills soon. Rice now just hugging the corner. Splash, a dirty angle through this hatch. And with these set up, Vipers probably don't have a chance, especially with Diffuser upstairs. I didn't even realize they don't have any control of it. Silent gets one. Sure, he's traded, but it does not matter. Filthy pads his stats as Luminosity take match point.
And it seemed really from the get-go that Vipers made a very good decision to let Bank kind of play in through. They had a very clean defensive half, only losing to CEO attacks, which, again, are rather difficult to properly defend most of the time. But on their attacking half, they really haven't been able to successfully win a lot of those opening duels. I think it has been nothing but entry kills favoring Luminosity, except for, I don't know, maybe round 8, because that one I couldn't quite catch.
The only time they didn't get the entry kill was round 4 when they did that weird vault drop.
And that was Poison.
And that was Poison. And then round 5 where they were just kind of like bot walking all over the map. Every other round, they've had the opening kill.
Yeah, Luminosity, like you had mentioned, able to punish that roam extension for not being completely...
Maybe losing Dexter, hurting Vipers more than we thought.
I guess so. I might have been a little more accurate than I had actually anticipated, and it seemed like the shot calling / IGLing is just slightly off its mark, although I absolutely enjoy Poison as an IGL, and again, that shot calling by Filthy that we normally see, especially last stage, was fantastic. So
it also might not be a shot calling issue, because if Poison is top fragging, that means something's wrong. If Poison is the only player on your team that's positive, that means something is really wrong. That means your entry fraggers, your flex players, they're not doing their job. Luminosity are just manhandling the entry game, the aggressive game, all the gunfights.
Doesn't seem like they're truly playing together as one would expect. Even when you have, Maxley, for example, having backup by someone like Twist, for example, it does seem like they are still very dissociated from one another. Seems like Vipers want to just, throw all things out the window, opt to go for something more direct, but with that Montaigne ban, it's going to be a little more challenging, try to get that down.
Oh my god, the minute in reinforcement.
However, though, they don't have a lot of utility to deal with when it comes to the Osa shield. There's only one Nitro Cell that could destroy a Talon shield, so maybe they'll get a good angle to help get that defuse down. And with almost all the Vulcans now destroyed, it's really just a Nitro Cell and those smoke grenades that Vipers are really going to have to challenge. That and a potential flank, but I think someone's guarding that as well.
Because remember how influential that Nitro Cell was, killing the initial planter of Poison? Here, the Zero Cams now starting to come into effect as Filthy can man them and wait for Rice to peek himself out. They've got pre-placed drones as well. Seems like Vipers have all their bases covered. They'll see 3 different players on the upstairs. Filthy gets one, but is traded out. Twist finds another on the Kicks. It's a 4 versus 3. Twist still holding it down from Electrical. Another kill for himself. And Splash and Silent are alone. Silent now completely out of utility. Splash has got to win this fight for the sake of this round, for the sake of the map, possibly. But Poison upstairs to assist. He doesn't care about the plant. He'll just win it off kills. Silence alone. 1 versus 4. No utility to speak of. Plant going down. Coverage from behind an Osa shield. Vertical superiority from the attack as well. And Silent can do nothing. Vipers with a pitch-perfect attack onto the basement.
And I mentioned it, and it had been almost immediately fixed by Vipers Esports, actually having multiple attacking points that can benefit from just one part of the map. Usually, you have just your Zero on that flank watch up above, but Filthy not only had himself, but he had Twist as well to back him up. So eventually when Filthy had fallen, Twist was there to refrag. So when they already had the man advantage, there was really no breaking point for Vipers, as they didn't really give away anything once the 0 had fallen. That was an incredible, I'd say, half clear on the top 4, because they were more or less just playing up there again for that flank watch to make sure they could go for a direct plant, but that wasn't even necessary. Luminosity just overplayed their hand, and they weren't fully aware of what they were getting themselves into. They were aware that Filthy was up above, but I don't think they were fully comprehending that there was a second player there to back him up. Much better team play there by Vipers Esports. And now they're only 1 round away from potentially bringing us to overtime. But besides that 1 round, Luminosity have looked fantastic on their defensive rounds. But also to play devil's advocate, this has been, the one site that is definitely the most favored towards the offense, I have to say. We saw Luminosity win this both times when they were attacking it. So Vipers potentially having better timing on their execute could definitely manage to bring overtime into this matchup.
We'll have to see if Vipers can really lock down this CEO attack without letting Rice run all over them. Poison still the only member of his team positive, though there are teammates now getting closer. Flash still on that warden, curiously enough. I guess maybe scarred by how many smoke plant attempts Vipers has had. Silent, wow. Spinning around and 180ing that Flores drone. That was actually kind of impressive. That saved his shield. So maybe Maxley left to rethink his options. No, he'll send another Flores drone out. This is going to be important. If he can get this shield, then, this Wamai is useless. And there we go. For some reason, Silent decided after destroying the Flores drone from behind him, he was going to give it an easier path to his shield. And now he's forced to fall back to site.
Yeah, and that being the only shield, it does seem like Vipers Esports don't need a lot of those Roteros to meet their mark, except for on those shields. Maybe if they need a couple castle barricades broken too, depending on where the Flores is, that could be utilized as well, but you already have ranged shot destruction with those Gone 6s and the explosive lifelines. Hell, you could even utilize the Selmas if you already have them on the hard breach wall, and then he rotates over, but that normally doesn't happen. Speaking of which, shot destruction being made, funny enough, by those Rotero drones to have a better angle to try to work their way in through stock, but Maxley gets down somehow. He's now currently trapped inside of stock. If someone has info on this, it was by a C4 that downed Maxley. If someone has info that he's injured, they could finish him off and get that early man advantage back in the favor of LG.
It's just a matter of whether or not they have the info, and I don't think they do. Maxley could very possibly get rezzed. There is a minute left, so they do have time, but again, they're going to have to get a move on. Vipers cannot let the time get out of control again. Poison will turn his back, open the wall, pick up Max, and there we go, back to a 5-on-5. He'll allow Max a nice long angle as well in opening that wall, so he's got a bit of sight line into Janitor. He's got a cheeky little angle, I believe, into Long Desk as well, if he wants. More Rotero drones come in, but Eddie gets the lead-off kill onto Twist. So again, an opener for LG. Eddie, a second kill onto Creators. Poison finally refrags and puts the end to the reign of terror from Eddie, but Splash, the opposite MPX, wakes up. Filthy now dead. Maxley low on HP. Poison's in the site, picks off Rice, and starts the plant. Silent's got to go in and deny, and there's nothing to cover Vipers. Maxley not in position. The Wamai just walks on through and gets a free 2-piece to end the map. LG wins 7-5.
And it really just seems like a lot of that had to correlate with the entry losses that we saw by Vipers. Again, they had a lot of really good ideas on paper, but the execution of it just didn't seem up to par when dealing with Luminosity, who, again, they are more than willing to get aggressive to go work those 1-for-1s. And although they no longer have Ferda and Asian, I mentioned this in the pre-show, all of their teammates are consistent gunners put in the right environment, so they're more than willing to heavily roam up above, to swing wide against Osa shields, play these long-range gunfights, and just simply win them because Vipers just aren't in the better position to win those spots. And I think a major factor as well was the lack of, cut-off angles that Vipers was establishing. So there wasn't a lot of good potential to play for those trades as well. In this meta, I feel like we're going to see a lot more trade potential being found by attacking teams. And the fact that Vipers just couldn't capitalize on that, it left a lot of holes in their attack. And I think a major thing that could have had to do with that is maybe just a lack of major range shot destruction. It seemed like it was mostly sledge a lot of the time. So, for example, those castle barricades that were kept up a lot of the time, they allowed very easy fallbacks for people like Splash on Oryx because you didn't have to worry about anyone shooting him from lobby, for example. So
Yeah, LG played a very, very good like touch and go
yeah,
fall off realm. I think that was the big highlight. Luminosity's attacks were very meh. They had two really good ones. The rest were really meh, some outright bad, but their defensive half was almost perfect. 5-1 on the half. I mean, they were 9-3 on entry as a team. That is just incredible. And Eddie himself is 1, 2, 3, 4-0. Eddie's 4-0. Rice, I think, was 3-2. Splash is 2-0. Like, I think every single person on the team actually has no, everyone except Silent. Silent is the only member of LG that did not get an entry pick, or an entry engagement, which is really weird because usually he's the entry guy. But anyway, we digress. We're going to let the analyst desk get more into it, discuss why John, CJ, and I were right about LG winning and just how good they're looking heading into stage 3.
I wasn't sure, guys, if we were even going to get the toss there. I thought they were going to break down the whole match for us, but here we are. It looks like we do get to do our jobs today. Finally, the rematch decided upon, and it looks like Luminosity, Tanner, takes it in the rematch. What was the difference maker here? Because this was a very close game between these two teams.
I mean, I think Harrison hit a lot of really big points, and John as well, with both teams were really struggling on entry. And we saw this actually last time these two teams played here on Bank. I just want to highlight a very key ban that came out from the side of Luminosity, where they banned the Monty, which was the Vipers get out of jail free card last time. They brought the Monty 4 rounds in a row in a very similar position where they were down in round count, and they managed to bring it all the way back to overtime using the Monty itself. But by them banning it outright, they took away that option. They're no longer allowed to play that, and now they have to go back to the meat and bones of making sure they're getting good entry picks. And as we saw with players like Eddie, players like Silent, they just weren't able to get anything on the board. In fact, I think Connor, you mentioned it, that Poison had the most entry picks on the side of Vipers, which is just
either a death or a kill. But yeah,
that doesn't make sense when he's playing hard breach or your anchor positions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Vipers then for a second. Connor, in my mind, it didn't look like massive mistakes they were making. It looked like some sloppy errors here or there. Can we chalk this maybe up to a match where, we said it coming into it, these were two teams with two big roster changes, and maybe Vipers were just a little late to react to their changes and really find those adjustments that they needed to find, where Luminosity Gaming did.
Yeah, I think overall just the team looked a little bit rusty. The fraggers, there was a little bit of desync between them. They weren't really right on each other's heels. The refragability wasn't necessarily there. We saw so many times on the defensive side for Luminosity that when they were able to get a roam kill, that roamer, Eddie on Valk or whatever, it went unpunished. He was just able to take a few shots and get away. And overall, just wasting time. It made things so difficult on the attacking half for Vipers that they couldn't really overcome anything. They didn't have just the pure muscle to get into sight. They couldn't just walk in and take the gunfights because Luminosity, they're a very mechanically skilled team. And overall, that matchup just didn't go their way. And, sure, it was a close game. 7-5, that's about as good as you can go. But it was a 4-1 lead for Vipers before there was a very, very well-timed timeout from Luminosity where I'd pay $50. I'd, just empty out my wallet to know what exactly the coach was saying there, because it did propel Luminosity to 5 straight rounds.
Well, we can actually ask the coach what he said to his team. We're going to talk to Wafer right now. I'll ask him a few questions, and I'll be back with you boys in a moment. Wafer, huge win for you guys to start off the stage. Got to be feeling a bit better with that win versus last stage where it started off a little bit rough.
I mean, sure. I mean, I already knew. I mean, I know. I saw the predicts. Let me ask you something, Brim. For who you vote? Who you get? Who you get on that?
See, I voted for Vipers.
I mean, I know Asian and Ferda, they were vote these, but I mean, we're like a machine, we're like a unit. We're not dependent on like just one part,
Did it feel good
it's a good start.
Did it feel good to exact that revenge on Bank against Vipers?
I mean, last time I don't feel like a revenge. Just like last time we trolled. That's just how it is. We were like 6-2 something like that, and we just trolled it. But it felt good. It felt good to start finally again winning. You know, I miss
And
you.
and so finally, going into that timeout, you guys were down 4-1, but it looked like a completely different team coming out of the timeout. What did you guys kind of put together to make sure that you were going to come back and win this?
I mean, basically, well, just getting back in the land, you know, taking it a little bit more seriously. I think the boys were too confident. It's just like mind reset and a little bit of strategically reset, you know. So it was kind of like both, like strategically and mind reset.
Well, congratulations on starting off the stage right way. For I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
See you. Thanks.
Have a good one. Well, the teams you expect, well, I guess I say expect to win. We didn't. I mean, most of us put Vipers, so I can't really throw my name into that hat. But LG, you expect them to win in general, and that's exactly what they've done today for their first game of the stage. 2 more games. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, it's going to be Excel. I'll let you guys figure that one out. Going up against RTV. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Someone call the cops.